I'm a graduate student at National Louis, and I'm also a science teacher at Community Youth Development Institute. And I'm heading up this project in this room. This system is called aquaponics, and it combines aquaculture, which is basically fish farming, with hydroponics, which is growing vegetables and other plants in non-soil, basically. So we're not using soil to grow these. We're using something called perlite, which is essentially granite rock that has been ground up into a really fine powder, put into an oven so that it poofs up like this. And what we do is we circulate water through the grow beds, and we can actually use the fish waste, the water that the fish poop into and put their nutrients in, to help feed the plants. It actually got started before I was hired. I think it might have been last year or at the beginning of the summer. My principal had been doing some reading about food deserts and urban agriculture, and he heard about this farmer from Flanagan, Illinois, Miles Harston, who had a system like this set up, and he was also setting it up in other neighborhoods, because there's some community groups who want to start feeding their neighborhoods from systems like this that are indoors. And so he got the ball rolling. My principal and his assistant, Keena Robinson, hired Miles to set this whole system up. And then I interviewed with my principal over the summer, and he was looking for a teacher who would be interested in this sort of thing. And I'm really passionate about agriculture. That's like my thing. So I knew that this was a good fit for me, and I said I would take this on and help it grow. So he basically hired me because of this, I think. And the students were able to plant the plants down here, and once they got under those grow lights, they started to thrive. And I mean, they looked dead by the time we got them under the grow lights, and they came back. And we've harvested this basil several times. Like, we've cut it down a lot. So we've gotten quite a bit of food out of this already, and it's just been flourishing and coming back. And the students have actually been able to cook with the basil and eat it and enjoy it. And for a lot of them, they don't have experience, growing their own food, harvesting that, and cooking with it. So it sort of came full circle for a lot of the students, and they tried different foods that they'd never had before, like pesto. A lot of them thought that that was really weird at first, and they thought it tasted weird at first, but I think because they grew the basil and cooked with it, they were part of that process. They were more willing to try it, and they did like it in the end when they ate it. So that was really great for me to see that, because I'm all about students learning how to eat healthy and cook for themselves. So being a part of that was really special.
Secret leaflet, have the boys found the leak yet? Molehill set the wheel in motion, downfall picks up locomotion. Now you gotta give the people something good to read on a Sunday. Now the leader's wife take a government car in the dark to meet a minister. The leader never leaves a store ajar, swings the whip from the Boer War. The people must have something good to read on a Sunday. He wore a leather mask for his dinner guest, totally nude and with deep respect, proposed a toast to the boat's guests, the feeling of power and the thought of sex. The people must have something good to read on a Sunday. Now the girl let the fat man touch her, vodka fume and the feel of a vulture, drive away in the end.
So the project began as studying hunger in Chicago, and our students were interested in why people are hungry in Chicago. And our students are they're 100% African American, and 90% of them are on a free breakfast, free lunch program. And many of them have themselves visited homeless shelters or food banks. And they were really curious about who goes to food banks, why, and how you stay hungry. So the project started with wanting to volunteer at a food bank and present to them some statistics on hunger. And after 2 visits to the food bank that were emotional for our students, we had a couple students crying at each visit about how sad it was to see the mothers with young children in line getting food that they were serving them. The students asked if they could do something more than just serve food and present a packet. They just didn't feel like it was meaningful. And so our students organized themselves a food drive. And that's the state we're in right now, and we're collecting food next week for the food drive. The kids put together all of the posters with those statistics. But the really cool thing is that it was meaningful for them. 2 students said it wasn't enough, we want to do something, and we literally just asked, what do you want to do? And they said, we want to go back to the food pantry more. We couldn't schedule those visits, unfortunately. So we said, well, we can't do that, but what else might help the community? And they said, well, I think we should just get food for them, get food for people. And I think why that happened is because we left space for those discussions. There was actually time. And it wasn't teacher-structured time, it was student-centered time for discussions about that. And our kids are really passionate. You know, I have to say that our character education program is strong enough that they want to make a difference and contribute. You know, I've been teaching for a long time now. I've been teaching for 10 years. And I've never done one of these projects before. And I only did it because I was asked to do it for a class. And it was so rich and rewarding. I would do it again every year. You know, I think that I give my kids a lot of student voice in the classroom. I try to, at least. But this really made me connect with my kids. I hadn't had that moment with them where I saw what they needed and wanted and how strong they felt like they wanted to give back to the community until this project. And so I'm really glad that I did it. I fought it in the beginning. I was like, I don't want to take time away. I've got so much ACT prep to do. But in the end, it really was enriching. And it made the year better.
Do you think that the students also recognize this as something that was different than what they normally do? Or?
Yeah, I think so. The written reflections are powerful emotional pieces, and I think they hadn't had that kind of emotion come out of a school event before.